Hey, it's Sam from Kibble Equipment, and I am out in the field today with the new CC19 Coulter Chisel from John Deere. Now we're going to go over some of the features that make this a heavy-duty, high-speed, high-productivity tillage tool that will work in almost any condition, especially the worst ones. Now we're standing in some of the worst tillage conditions. That's because it's November in Minnesota, so it is cold, it is wet, and it is going to be muddy. But that's really the beauty and the reason of why we sell a lot of chisel plows in Minnesota, because it's one of those tools that you can drag into almost any field, almost any conditions, and it will work. And that's pretty important up here when we're closing in on winter. So let's start with the Coulter section in front. Now it's important to note these are Coulters or straight blades. They are not concave discs. So the goal of this front section is not moving soil laterally. The goal is to chop and size residue. Now, a few of the advantages of running a Coulter versus a disc in a fall application, one is we can tighten up the spacing. So these are set on 7 1/4 inch spacing, which is really important when it comes to sizing residue, right? Next one is that since we're not moving soil laterally, we're also really mitigating the issue of plugging in the disc section. When you move soil laterally, you're picking up soil, which in muddy conditions, picking it up means sticking it to the blade, which means plugging. So Coulters are extremely difficult to plug. The other one is that it also doesn't eat up that horsepower. So you're getting the residue action of chopping and sizing, but you're not eating up that horsepower like a disc would. You're saving that residue turnover, that real heavy groundwork for this heavy duty shank behind me. Now, if you're familiar with the True Depth shank that's been available on John Deere chisel plows for many years, this shank probably looks familiar to you, but this is actually a completely redesigned shank for this heavy duty, high speed application. So this is a 1,600 pound trip shank versus the 1,250 pound trip True Depth shank that's been out for many years. And not only was the spring beefed up, the whole shank assembly itself has been beefed up. So this is actually a thicker C shank. It has a cast bracket, and then it has a cast V bracket that holds the shank to the frame instead of a V bolt. So I'd say one of the most important new features of this CC19 chisel plow is actually the harrow that is pulling behind it. So there are plenty of John Deere tillage tools that have a pro finish leveling system on the back, but this one in particular is a completely different animal. So you can just see from the side, it is a much heavier C channel. Just looking at the tines themselves, these are 30-inch long tines that you can really lean into and really level off some dirt behind the machine. It is on a parallel linkage system, so there's a lot less adjustment that needs to be done. The adjustments that do need to be done are really easy to do, but they are also heavy duty. If you look at this hitch pin right here that is used to change the angle of the tines, and then you have the option to put a rolling basket on the back as well to really level off that finish, break up clods, and we can actually turn a chisel plow into a pretty nice finishing tool. Now this unit is configured with TrueSet Active, so we do have the ability to control pressure on the front Coulters. We can adjust the shank depth up and down, and we can control the pressure on the basket if it's configured with it. But TrueSet Active will also monitor the real depth of the tool. And so if you're picking up mud on the wheels or something like that and the frame's rising up, this will actively adjust it down to make sure we're staying at that correct shank depth at all times in the field. So what do we have here with this CC19 Coulter chisel? Well, at its base, we have a chisel plow, which means it's able to get out into almost any field condition and work. But that's beefed up. Then we put the ability to chop and size residue on the front of it and a really beefed up harrow on the back that allows it to actually move dirt and level it off and leave a nice finish. And we do all of this at high speed, 7, 8 miles an hour. So we're able to do more and we're able to get it done faster.